Hi everyone, in today's video we're gonna look at how we could use old renderings that we've done back in the day and how we can use AI to actually make them more in today's style. Using Flux and Config UI, we'll work together on a step-by-step workflow on how to build the script to be able to do that. This will save you some time instead of jumping into 3D in Rhino or Twinmotion or D5, whatever software you're gonna use to actually being able to generate some visuals fairly quickly out of previous images you already done. With no further ado, let's jump into it. Okay, so that's the script we're gonna write all the way today in this video. So I'm gonna go through like a step-by-step, which component I need to load, which model, etc, the prompt and everything, so you'll know everything about it. As you can see, we'll stop before the upscaler. If you want to know about the upscaler, there is a separate video. I'll put the link below and also the little eye up there to actually access that video, so you can actually link that upscaler as I've done it to this workflow to create some upscaled version of your image, which I highly recommend. And so we're basically gonna go through that step by step. For my Patreon, I got some extra for you. I'll give you like sort of a multi-prompt options where with all the different prompts I use for the different image, I'll give you all the output of the image as well, so you can drop them in and see what I've done. I also like sort of optimize a bit my ControlNet process and update with the latest ControlNet I used. And of course we have also like sort of the step where we can have different options and then just select one to upscale. So all that will be sort of given to my Patreon, and with also like all the various outputs, and so you can just select my output image and drop it in your canvas, and you have the script with all the settings that I used. So the first idea here is we're gonna bring our unit loader. So I'm just gonna go here and bring my unit loader. So I'm using GGUF. It's a bit sort of optimized for it, and then here I have in my unit loader I'll take Q8, which is a Flux Dev Q8, which is a really good model, and you can download the model and save it as in your unit loader folder under the same structure as usual. So when you go in a Config UI and then models, and then here models, here you have unit loader here. So if I go here, that's where my models are. So if you click on this, you will have all the list of the whatever model you have in there. Okay, the second one is we're gonna take a dual clip loader, GGUF as well. And here I'm just gonna select the clip I, and then the second one will be, we'll go for an encoder. We can select this one here. So the T5XX XSL FP8 or the 16, up to you. And then here last things to change is make sure that you are under Flux, because we're gonna use a Flux model for this specific example. Here at the top and this one at the bottom. It doesn't matter the order, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Then the next things we're gonna do is we're actually gonna load LoRa, a realism LoRa. So this will probably help us more down the track when we're gonna upscale the image, but so I'll just keep it here. Here I got a couple of LoRas. There's one of them that I put on my Patreon that you can download for free if you join the Patreon. Called algorithmic architecture, where I develop the LoRa, and you can test it on your own. It's pretty cool LoRa. So have a look. But the one we're gonna use for this specific example is the realism LoRa. So that will help with our sort of upscaling. And here I'll just drop it down to 0.8 so that it's not too strong. Connect my model, connect my clip, and that's it. Now the next step we're gonna do is we're actually gonna run through and add a model sampling flux. So if I go here, model sampling flux from config core, and then I'm just gonna plug my model here, and then here I'm just gonna keep it by default. I can keep the settings by default. I don't really need this. Now, the other things I need now is I need a positive prompt and a negative prompt. So I'm gonna load a clip text encoder prompt. So that will be my positive prompt. So one way to do it, you can right click here and actually titles, you can change it here to positive if you want. What I like to do, I don't really like to change, I do it sometimes, but if you change the name, sometimes it can be confusing because then when you type it, if I take positive prompt, I will not find the right component. So if you change the title, be mindful of that it might be hard afterwards if you go back to the script later on to find it again. But the things you can do so is you could right click on it and then eventually change the color. So here I'll put it green. And I also need a clip text encoder, but for my negative prompt. Now, if you follow some of my video, you probably know that Flux doesn't need a negative prompt, but it still needs to go through that. So I'm just gonna keep this one empty for now. So here we're gonna use a sampler custom advanced. So this one is a slightly different case sampler that I like to use. I like to use because I found sometimes it's easier to generate a couple of options, and I found it personally from my experience a bit lighter on the graphic cards somehow. It allows me to do to batch a couple of visuals, whereas with the other one it's sometimes a bit challenging, but it just required a bit of a different structure. So you need a random noise node that I just put here. You also need a guider, a basic guider, and the basic guider it asks you for your model and also the conditioning. So here we can ask for flux guidance, and basically we're gonna plug our flux guidance into here and then back into our conditioning, and this in the guider. Now, another thing that you need is a sampler. So if I go sampler selector, it's not the sampler selector, it's the case sampler select. Okay, and then this one goes into there. So you can see if it's the wrong component, you can't actually plug it in really. So, which is quite good. And then for the Sigma, you need a basic Schindler. Basic Schindler. Okay, and then we're gonna plug that into the Sigma. And here you need the model. So here I just plug this one here. So that's basically my number of steps. I'll keep it as normal for now. Denoise as 1. Euler, that's not gonna change. Random noise, I'm not gonna change. I just need my latent image. So for the latent image, we're gonna use something that I like to use, and it's the empty latent image preset. So empty latent image preset. This one, it's from KG Nodes. So if you don't have it, you can go in the manager, install custom nodes, and then the install KG Nodes. So it's this one here, and you can just install it. Pretty cool node. And the reason is just because you already have some sets dimension data sort of following the training data, which sort of guarantees some sort of quality. I like that format, like sort of landscape format. So I'm gonna keep this, and here's your batch as well. So if you need more than one image, you could just change your batch here. So I'm gonna grab my Latin and I plug it here. Now, as a normal case sampler, we need a VAE decoder. And I plug my decoder, and then we need a VAE. So load VAE. And here I'm just gonna select AE and plug it in. Okay, and then we just need to save our image. Now again, I'm not gonna run through the upscaler. The upscaler will be after these steps. So have a look at the video. I go through data how to build the upscaler, and you will get something quite good out of the process. So you can see actually on this one, it's interesting. Guidance, this one doesn't even require a negative prompt, so it just keep the negative prompt altogether. But we're gonna keep it just because I'll show you when we're gonna use the ControlNet. But that's basically the basic structure. Okay, so that's all you need to generate an image. I could write a prompt here. Let me grab maybe one of the prompts, and we're gonna use the rooftop here. Okay, and then I'll queue it. So again, I used like a very standard prompt that I've been using. I just change a bit of to match one of the image. That would be my rooftop terrace. So this is an image I've done in 2009 for my thesis, master thesis in architecture, and it's really good. I was really happy with it, very proud. I had the full 3D of New York. It's in Manhattan, at the Empire State Building. Really proud of this image. And then I put those two dudes, and looking back at it, I'm like, oh my god, this is terrible. But I got a high distinction out of the process, not obviously because of this image, but probably because of the process and the work I've done to get to that architecture response. So it's not always about the image. But then I was like, I want to update my folio, and I want to actually give it a bit of a fresh brush to it. And then I got to some first iteration, pretty bad, very bad, not very good. And then I start to get some interesting ones. So all those ones are actually low res, and then I just sort of upscale them. So this is the upscale version of one of them. So like this was sort of the original, and then I upscaled, used the video that I have about the upscaler. So not great, but all the ideas were there, and it was just sort of the architecture was there. It was very noisy and sort of not quite there. And I really like this one as well. I think it was quite elegant. It feels like really Manhattan. So and then I like what was happening in there. So I decided to upscale this one, so we can see how sharp these peoples are. The Empire State Building looks really good, and then those are still a bit noisy. So I'm not fully satisfied with them. So upscale this one to see, and that's the one I kept actually as a final result, which I think is quite amazing in terms of data, in terms of quality. And this is a 2688 by 1536, so it's a nice resolution. Again, you can go in Photoshop and edit some of the things. There's some part that are a bit odds, but overall, out of the press, it looks quite good. So this was the original idea. So I wrote that prompt, well-winning photo, minimalist rooftop terrace with a view over Manhattan and the Empire State Building. On the right hand side, a diamond steel structure emerged and enclose a cozy seating area. Around the building, vertical steel structure are closing the rooftop space, 2 person walking on the terrace. Okay. Retro-futuristic style, early morning shot, blah blah blah. Cool, and that's what I have. Ooh, even better than my project. Really cool. So again, this is just with what we just built together. That's the process. Empire State Building, nicely centered, amazing composition, very very centered. Yeah, and then a couple of people. Somehow there's a seat there. Nice sofa. Not too sure why, but overall interesting composition. So now what we need is basically import somehow this image here, which is my base visual. So I'm gonna go here and I'm just gonna go and load an image. So I'm loading an image, and this time, so I'm loading an image, and then so I'm gonna load this one here. I put it here, so I can just drop it in. And what I want is I want ControlNet to help me with this one. So I'm gonna load a ControlNet model. And this ControlNet model, the one I will load will be Union. So again, I'll put the link in the description of this video, but I will use the Flux One Dev ControlNet Union. Now this one needs a selector because this one got a lot of ControlNet built into it. So I need a ControlNet select. Is it the apply ControlNet? No, it's not this one. So it's a set union ControlNet type. So I need to plug this one. And now, because this one got all the ControlNet built into it, here you can see Canny or depth, I need to go and select the one I want. So here, I'm just gonna do the first one with Canny. So I'm gonna select Canny. And I'm gonna try to get a Canny out of this process. So there's a different ways to do this. This is where I slightly changed from some previous video. I actually, to increase the resolution and get some better results, I found this one after testing a bit more interesting. So here I can select the AIO aux preprocessor. I found the resolution is way better. So here I'm just selecting Canny Edge processor, and here I'm just gonna put it 1224, and we can just turn on the preview so we see what's happening out of this. But this one is really good. So now that I have my image, it goes through, it will pre-process, it will just extract all the lines through Canny, and then I can just have my apply ControlNet. Now, my apply ControlNet is asking for ControlNet. So I'm just plugging this one here, an image, which is basically not this one, but something that has been pre-processed with Canny, and then my VAE. So I'm just going back to my VAE, this one here, and I select and plug it here. Okay. Now, the next step is, and I'll bring back my VAE at the start of the process. Might be easier. Now what I need here is I basically need my positive prompt. So I'm gonna select here from my positive prompt, my negative prompt here. That's where I need my negative prompt. Not that I need it through Flux, but somehow ControlNet still required it. And then this one, we're gonna leave it because we are gonna plug this part, the positive, into positive here. So this is where the magic happens. You integrate your ControlNet between the conditioner and the Flux guidance, and that feedback your mode. Okay, so this is a bit hard to read now. So I'm bringing that back. Okay, so that should make a bit more sense. And so all this part here is my ControlNet. Okay, so so you can do a group. And then say Canny ControlNet. Okay, so let's see how it looks like. One thing that we probably need to do here though, before I jump into it, is we'll probably need to resize our image. Because, you know, like I've done this rendering ages ago. I'm not too sure if this image is the right size or whatever. Have a look at the size of the image. So I'm gonna do resize image, and there's one tool that I like. It's from KJ Notes, and it basically, you just select your image and you go here. Now here what it asks is like, get the image size. So you could, if you have the image size, you could put it here, and all those ones are basically optional. What's important though is the width and the height of your image. Now you can see that I already have in my Latin the height and the width. So what I want is, I want to plug that width and height straight here, so I don't have to write it down here. So what I can do is I can right click on this, and then, and by the way, you can do that for every component. Convert width into input, and then right click, convert height into input. And now I can plug my width, my height, and you can see it turns green, and it looks really good. We can keep this. Now, if you want to crop it, you can just, you can also center your image if you feel like it. You can see how it feels. But this is basically all what you have to do. And then that's where you just plug back here inside there. So that helps to actually have a bit more control. So no matter how what's your image size, I highly recommend to still get something out of like that, similar to the output you want. But if not, you can always play a bit with this. Now Canny, and this is where the fun parts really comes into AI, is testing those things. So I'll show you in previous video what settings I put for this one, and I think, you know, most of the time you can start with quite low, and this is usually a bit of a try and error process where you see what comes out nicely. What that does is this gives the strengths to this. So basically during the process it would say, if my strength is 1, then the prompt will be sort of taken into consideration, but mostly the image will drive the generation. Now, if I lower that down a bit, the prompt will have a bit more influence into the final output of the image, and that sort of help with the process. Now, I like to have it sort of balanced, and that's why I just sort of keep that a bit lower to see how much freedom the AI will generate, like images, and this one is sort of like a bit different. And then for the start and the end %, this is basically like, you know, during those different steps, this image, this Canny, will influence until 40% of the process, and then it will let go, and then the AI will sort of free flow from there. If I put that all the way to 1, it means that in each iteration, this image will sort of influence the outputs. And by doing this, so you just light up a bit again the original image to leave a bit of creativity, I guess. And so with no further ado, we can have a look at this. Now here also, I didn't talk about it. This is a landscape format. If you click on true, it will actually do portrait with the same format. So this is quite good to know. You can just toggle through, and that can help with the process. So let's jump in and see how it looks like. And there we go. So I have my my prompt, so you can see it feels like a rooftop, but it's still quite low, so it's a small rooftop, and you can see that the AI got a lot of creativity out of the process. If I put them side by side, it's actually quite far. You know, this one is way higher up in the sky. So let's have a look at my prompt. Rooftop terrace. Yeah. Let's see and generate another image to see. But, you know, it's interesting. It keep the crossing. It sort of add a bit of work in there, or a bit of elements in there. And that's where, so let me bump that a bit to 0. Let's do 0.8. Maybe here 0.6. We'll see how it looks like. Okay, that's much better. But again, this is a bit floaty, but like, I guess this is the wall here. And then, I don't know. There's a giant new, I don't know, skyscraper going through there. So this is not, but overall it's quite interesting. So you can see when I strength a bit the ControlNet, it got the right height now. So this profile is a bit better. We can run it another time to see. The height sort of match columns. And then even the geometry here is still a bit confused there on like what's happening. It's a bit packed. Feels like someone moved in and it's just still sitting in there. And then for the people, I wouldn't worry too much about the people. Like when you go through the upscaling process, it will sort of fine tune those silhouettes. Okay, and there we go. We've got another one here. So again, interesting. The city, a couple of elements that are missing, but overall quite interesting. And then sort of here it adds a bit of elements. I guess it's get a bit confused with the cloud, and it just might be picking up on some stuff. But you know, overall I like this Canny more than the previous one I was using. I found there's more data into it. Now another things that you can add is you can add another ControlNet. So if I apply ControlNet, and now I'm just select this output, and then here I'm just gonna set union again, type, my image will be, we'll use a depth, so depth anything v2 is a good one. So then I just have to select my image again, go back here, and then my resized image, put it here. That will be my depth anything, and here I can just increase the resolution, so we've got something even better. And preview image, plug my preview image, and I plug my image to image, negative prompt. I can use this negative prompt, and then I'll just grab my VAE, put my VAE here, and then now I'm gonna change my positive prompt here with this one. So I just need to add basically this one through the process, and then the strengths, now that we use both of them, I'll just reduce it a bit here, the Canny, and here 0.5, whoop, not 5, 0.5, and then maybe here we're gonna just use it till, let's 0.4. Okay, so let's see how we go with this one. So again, I like this Canny preprocessor. I think the resolution is much better. And this is my depth, so quite nice. But again, the depth is great, but the Empire State Building doesn't show up on my depth. So that's why having Canny showing that Empire State Building will help the AI to just sort of generate the Empire State Building here. That is sort of missing on this Canny. That's why having both of them side like together can help with the output. And this is the result. So you can see it's a bit of a fatty one, but we can see this is way more accurate and way more interesting. Again, there are like some tiny detail that I'm not a big fan of, but pretty interesting. Bit of artificial light. Yeah, I think overall that settings. And again, you need to play around a bit with those values to see what works best. And I'll put the link in the description for all that. Now auto, I put auto actually on this one. I should have put depth, but auto can go and select whatever. Sometimes auto, like I was reading some stuff, so sometimes auto can be actually quite interesting and quite generate some interesting output. Yeah, I like this one actually. This one is great. So you could upscale this one using the video I show you, like the other video about upscaling, and you can just grab that image and upscale it and have something quite interesting. For the Patreon, I'll just share with you like, you know, like my different tests here. I've done the test with this one, which was my hero shots, and then I just went through a couple of options. Some of them were not really successful, some of them came up quite nice. I think this one and those ones are probably my favorite. So at the end of the process, you can get to something you're happy with. But again, it requires a bit of exploration to see what comes out nicely. Office was quite interesting as well. So this was my starting point image. Not very proud of it. And then those ones are the low res. And this is the high res, like the two last high res that I sort of liked. Again, I think in terms of camera position and composition, I think I would have worked on that a bit better. But again, I think this is sort of how you take like some previous visuals where you don't have the 3D, you just have those visuals, and how do you make them a bit more finished. So I'll be sharing all those ones with my Patreon, so you can see all the settings and different outcome, and also like sort of have the upscaler and all the other settings I had. So I had a couple of like tweaks here to be able to turn on and turn off Canny. I also have a prompt, like I have all my prompt here going through the process with all my different prompts for different images, and I just turn them on and off. But overall, with this workflow, you can really start kicking some image and doing some images. Thanks for watching this video. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you learn a lot through the process, and I also hope mostly that you're gonna be able to use it for your professional career, for your portfolio, to find new clients, whatever it is. And if you like the video, press the button like. If you want to subscribe, just subscribe. It helps a lot the channel and the algorithm to get the video out there. Share what you learn, and also special thanks to the Patreon. You're helping a lot, and I will share all the files plus extra on the Patreon website for you guys to enjoy and test, do some crazy stuff. So until next video, see ya.